You can't avoid life, but you can avoid living it. You are here. That is a fact. You are a conscious, living and breathing human being. And you may be thinking, of course you can avoid life. But no, ending life is not the same as avoiding it. If you are able to listen to this podcast, to hear these words, then you must already be alive in terms of a physical condition. You are here. There is no avoiding that. And yet many of us successfully avoid living. Being alive is different from feeling alive, in the same way that existing is different from living. Because you can exist until the day that you die and not have a moment where you truly felt like you were living your life. Not truly. And this happens for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's comfort. And in this comfort and avoidance of major risk, we end up being led down this safe path that avoids any major dangers, and we stay comfortable. But we don't truly engage with life then. We avoid things like shame or fear or disappointment, and we find those things uncomfortable. So we stay where we're at. And because of this, because you avoided all of the negatives of life, you end up avoiding all of the positive. And another mode of this is living under rule, where your life is dictated for you. Maybe your parents said that you should go and do a certain job or live a certain life, or you were forced into a situation where you had to take care of somebody else, and you felt like your whole life was handed to you. And not in a great way, not in a way like, oh, I received everything without effort, more in a way that it was decided for you without your consent, where you didn't ask for, you didn't permit your life to go this way, but you feel like you've been on the receiving end of a deck of cards where somebody's given you your hand and that's your lot. That's what you're stuck with. There's no changing it. That's just how you must live. And even in the absence of people conditioning you, you may be conditioned by your environment, what they would call a product of your environment, because you are shaped and molded by what is around you, the environment that you exist in, whether that's opportunities or access to resources. There are many ways that the external dictates how we live our lives. And because of these conditions, whether that's environmental, social, geographical, financial, it will shape and tell you what your life must look like. And when you assess all of these things that layer up and compound, and you see that they affect everything, they mold you into who you are. And this might be something that you like or something that you dislike. But especially when you are younger and you don't have as much control over your own life or your own decisions, you end up getting swept away. And this momentum can carry you for your entire life. You know, maybe your parents wanted you to become a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer, whatever. And they put that pressure on you from very young to get the best education, to get the good grades, to then go to college, to then go to law school, to then get a job. And then you're a lawyer, and that's it. You're a lawyer for 40 years, you do the career, you go up the ranks, you raise, you get good money, and you turn around and you look back at your life and you think, well, how did this happen? You know, where did my life go? I spent it living somebody else's dream or doing what somebody else wanted me to do. What if I wasn't meant to be a lawyer? What if I was meant to be a florist or an artist or a dancer or a performer on stage? The possibilities are endless. And yet you fell into this trap where you're now living a life that you don't really want to live. But maybe you've got a good job and you've bought a house and you've got assets and you've got a family to look after. And now you feel like you've got to maintain this prosthetic life, this life that you didn't want, that was given to you forever. And this life that was thrust upon you as a child then becomes something you have to maintain as an adult because of the same thing, obligation to people that we love. Maybe you did it out of respect or love for your parents initially, and now you do it out of duty and devotion to your family. But no matter how much you love these people, you cannot exist in a life that you hate and feel that love yourself. If you know that you're not living how you're meant to be living, or this life that you're living is not filling you up every day, it's not charging you, it's not making you feel alive, then you're going to end up resenting it. You're going to resent your parents for pushing you into it. You're going to resent your family for keeping you in it. And you will end up bitter. And at best, if you don't end up bitter, you will likely end up dissatisfied, feeling like you wanted more from life, or feeling like you could have done something differently, but you never did. You stuck the path and you never veered off course. You never had an adventure. You never saw what was on the other side or on the other possibilities of life. And it doesn't matter how your life was dictated to you, whether it was by people or parents or family or social pressures, whether it was environmental, where you grew up, whether it was your financial situation, whatever it was that conditioned you to be who you feel like you need to be now, you don't have to be that person forever. You don't have to commit to living a life that you don't want to live, that you don't feel alive in, because it will never get better. It will only get worse if you choose to stay the course and endure life, like just bite down and tough it out and go through life just doing what you feel like you have to do and what you should do. You will spend your whole life feeling like something is missing, that life is missing, that feeling is missing. And a lot of people only truly feel alive when something really, really bad happens. When something so bad happens that they have to confront it. Either it's the adrenaline spike, like a near-death experience where they suddenly realize, oh my God, I'm actually alive. I'm living this life and I don't want it to end. And it may be that after this experience, you get that huge rush, that overwhelming feeling like, my God, I'm alive. I must do things. I must go and live. And sooner or later, that feeling peters out. And you go back to the monotony of your comfortable life, or you settle back into your routine, because although near death was close, it wasn't enough. The reasons that you're doing it still exist. The reasons that you made those decisions and the factors that are keeping you from changing still exist, because you're not just staying the same for no reason. You're not just enduring this life for absolutely no reason. You're doing it for a reason. And what you need to know is that your reasons must change. Your understanding must change. You must realize that you sacrificing your entire life to duty or obligation or a life that was thrown upon you, or even that you picked and you no longer want. Maybe it was you that did it. Maybe it was you that thought this grand vision of what you want for your life and you went and set out to do it, and then you got it, and then you realized that it wasn't what you thought. It's not too late to change. You can always change. And you must change. Your life will change whether you change it or not. Things around you will change whether you change them or not. But what you need to realize is that you spend quite a lot of effort and energy maintaining this life that you're not quite happy with. You keep making the same decisions. You keep doing the same things. You keep showing up as the same person. You keep maintaining things and not letting them fall apart. You make decisions every day to stay the same as you are, to not venture out, to not put yourself out there, to not do something different, to not go on an adventure, to not go and explore, to see what you're made of, to test yourself. You make those decisions every day. And yet, if you are complaining about your life, if you don't think that you are satisfied with your life, why are you not doing something different? What is it? Because 90% of the time, probably more like 99.999% of the time, it's going to be fear. It's going to be that you are afraid of what happens or what it looks like if you change. What if you change and you're still unhappy? What if you change and it's worse? What if you change and you lose everything? All of these fears rattle around and keep you comfortable. They keep you in the same place. They prevent that change, that burst that you're looking for. And the universe might keep giving you these lessons, keep showing you what's available, and you keep turning away from it or avoiding it, avoiding something challenging, avoiding putting yourself into a new situation or an unfamiliar situation or an uncomfortable situation. What will it take to get you to change? Most people who get a terminal diagnosis of cancer say that it's the first time they ever felt alive. That because they had this death sentence handed to them, that they knew they were going to die, they knew they only had a limited amount of time left, that everything else just melted away. The whole notion of tomorrow is gone. This fear of judgment or fear of what people will think or fear of not doing well enough or anything, all of these fears just melt away because they're not relevant. They realize that life is short. Life is not guaranteed. And they may have cancer, but you're in the same boat. You are going to die. You are on this finite plane where reality exists for as long as the world permits it. You could die at any point in time. You think that you may have 10 years, you may not. You may have 50 years, you may have 100 years, you may have 5 months. You have no idea. And by having this false perception that you have long to go or a long future, is keeping you static. It's preventing a sense of urgency from arriving where you feel like, I must do this now. I must change now. So you have to truly sit and consider what will motivate you. What will make you feel that sense of urgency? It doesn't have to be the threat of death. It can just be the decision that you know you need to change. You know you're not happy with your life and that something must change. Anything must change. Maybe it's so bad that you have no idea what to change. You don't even know where to start. You just know that everything is bad. And go then. If everything is bad, pack a bag, travel somewhere new, experience a new way of life, do something you've never done before, do something that is the total opposite of what you would do. Because if it's that bad, doing what you're doing what works for you isn't working. You're obviously not doing the right things or don't have the right environment or set of parameters to be feeling fulfilled, to feel truly alive. So if you just keep doing what you're doing and making the same decisions through the same lenses, staying safe, avoiding risk, avoiding discomfort, avoiding putting yourself out there or doing something that might be dangerous or embarrassing, or if you keep defining yourself with the same terms, saying, I'm this kind of person, and all of these labels that you apply to yourself, if you keep applying those labels, you're going to stay the same. Of course you are. You identify with them. You identify as this kind of person. Oh, I'm not strong enough to do that. Oh, I'm not confident enough to do that. Oh, I don't think I'm smart enough to do that. Then you are applying those labels consistently. Of course, you will not change because you've identified with this life that you've built. All of those things that are holding you back, those fears, those doubts, those self-beliefs, those negative self-beliefs, that is preventing change. You are not somebody who is fixed. Anybody who thinks that they are weak could get a personal trainer or go to a fight gym, learn to fight, learn to pick up some weights, and feel 10 times better in themselves. But they don't. Why? Because they identify as weak. And when you hold on to these labels, when you hold on to this idea of you, that you are this kind of person, that you do these things and don't do these things and like these things and don't like these things, this identity that you are holding on to with both hands firmly, that is keeping you from changing. And no matter how much you say, well, I want to change, I want things to change, I want to feel alive again, or I want to feel like this zest for life, you can't. Not until you let go of an old identity that is no longer serving you. Learn who you are again. Start fresh. Disregard everything that you know about yourself. Truly disregard it. And don't think, oh, I do like this kind of thing, or I don't like this kind of thing. Go and find out. But if you are truly going to start fresh, you need to adopt a mental model that is suitable for starting fresh. Because otherwise you will just default to the same things. If you have convinced yourself that your whole life that you hate tomatoes, then by trying another tomato again, you are going to go, oh, this tastes disgusting. Because you can't help but use those prejudgments and this information that you've built over time. So what you must decide is that from here on out, you are going to use a different criteria for success. If we take the food example, a different criteria, maybe you have been using the criteria of taste your whole life when it comes to food. You put it in your mouth, you taste it, and you go, yes, I like it, yes, I don't like it. All right, but there's other ways to experience food. It could be how it makes you feel. You could eat tomatoes and realize that your body responds to the nutrients in a really positive way. And you might not like the taste, but my God, you feel energized, you feel good. And of course, this is a completely rudimentary example. And I'm not talking about food or tomatoes or the pleasures of eating. What I'm talking about is you are defining success by some form of criteria. You know, if I went to the gym and my success criteria for going to the gym was that it felt really great, that my body felt lovely and warm and cozy and relaxed, then it's probably going to fall short of that. I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to lift some heavy ass weights, and it's going to make me sore. So if my success criteria is a really warm, comfortable, happy body, then going to the gym and lifting heavy weights probably isn't going to fit that success criteria. And that doesn't mean that lifting heavy weights is bad. What it means is that my definition or my criteria of what is good or bad, that doesn't meet. It doesn't align. So if you are using criteria for success in your life and you are doing a bunch of things and you're doing it because you want it to make you happy, or you're doing it because you want to please other people, whatever it is, whatever you are trying to do and the reasons you are doing it, you must change those. Those are what must fundamentally change. And it will feel alien, it will feel wrong, but maybe you've lived your whole life chasing happiness, but happiness is something that is fleeting. Happiness is an impermanent state. So if we're chasing happiness, of course life is going to fall short because we can't always be happy. We can't always have everything go all our way and it be amazing. And if everything was made us happy all the time, then we probably would not feel that happy. It would just be normal. If your fundamental criteria was success, and you've gone and you've pursued success and you've tried to do goals and objectives and dreams and all this kind of stuff, and that isn't making you happy, maybe you need to switch gear. Maybe instead of doing what you think is right, or what you think is the best, or what you think you should be doing, you need to feel more. Feel through life, do things and see how it makes you feel, whether it makes you feel happy, alive, good, bad, whatever it is. Maybe you need to get into the feelings more of life. I don't know. I don't know your personal situation, but what I do know is that life is vast. That experience is vast. And we could say infinite. That there is infinite possibilities, infinite experiences, infinite ways to live your life. So you are picking one, and it's very consistent. If you look at your life, you'll probably see that you've been pretty consistent over the years, that you've been this version of you for a very long time. And if you are not happy with it, it's time for a different version. It's time to break the mold, to separate yourself from this idea of you, to let yourself experience things in a new way, to try new things, to do different things. That is what depression is. You are sick of who you have told yourself you are. You're done with it. It's an old identity. It's an old mask. It's an old representation of who you are. And it's time to change. As always, thank you for listening.